Now we're going into general notes. So with regard to general notes, it kind of provides assumptions made in order to calculate quantities, any specific details that we want to communicate to the contractor that they should be aware of when they go construct this project. This isn't a location for additional specifications, though. This is just additional notes and details to provide clarification to what is in this plan set. For instance, here it shows assumptions with how we did our calculations for the hot mix asphalt, the base course, so on and so forth. Talks about our smoothness category. Sometimes it talks about if the project is significant or not with regard to traffic control. In addition, specialty units typically use the general notes instead of writing specs. This typically is seen with the migratory bird general notes. So it highlights, for this one, for instance, highlights the need of a 404 permit, and then the migratory bird spec. So sometimes you see a spec, sometimes you see it as a general notes. So it just depends on what the environmental project manager wants to do on the project and how it gets communicated in the plan set. Any additional information on general notes, Eric?
Yeah, and I'll as a fair warning, I mean, general notes, it can be anything. I'll really honestly say that. And it is a challenge and it can be tough because I mean, you could have items in here, you could have pay quantities in here. It really depends on what the design engineer sort of was thinking at the time. This is one of those, I'll even highlight, this is one of those sections where you've got to be very careful, and Keith pointed it out a couple times, in regards to specifications. This is definitely where you can add information in your general notes, but they get overridden by your specifications because of that, again, the order of precedence again. So again, there's just a lot of information in the general notes. You got to read through it and you got to pay attention to it. Order of precedence really comes into play here.
Giovanna, do you have a question? Are you good now?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No problem.
No, my question was with your general note sheet. I was wondering, is there like a certain order that things are supposed to go in there? I know, Eric, you said it's kind of like a catch-all, and I mean, they always seem to look a little different, but is there, I don't know, a little,
yeah, you want,
or a,
there are templates out there, but unfortunately, my answer truly is no. There really isn't any specific order out there. There are templates that a lot of people use. For instance, those quantities up in the top left corner, I mean, I'm used to having that because I've got a default template, but the reality is no, there is no specific order. That's why it's kind of a mishmash of a bunch of information that gets thrown into one place. It is a little frustrating, yes.
No, that's okay. I usually, when I put mine together, just take a general note sheet from maybe the last project that I worked on, or the last, or a similar one, and like use that to start.
Yeah.
But okay.
And I think a lot of people do that. The best advice I would have is, as you're putting things together, hopefully things are grouped together, because there's a lot of times your general notes, they relate to one another. So it's nice to kind of have them at least grouped together so you're really not bouncing around. And I'm sure, that's probably the only suggestion I've really got.
But you can see the difference between this is one on one project and then this is one general note on another project. They look very different. So different designers pull different templates and use different resources. So that's one inconsistency we do have in our plan sets.
All right. And go ahead.
Oh, sorry. One more question, and maybe you'll get this later. Do you want, let's say you have a piece of information, do you want it to only show up one place in your plan, or is it better to kind of like duplicate it, maybe like on a detail, and also, call it out again in the general notes, or is that the rule of thumb that you just want something to show up once? Does that make sense?
Oh, definitely. Keith, do you want to?
Yeah, so there's a couple things with regard to that. So if it's any information, details, whatever, the fewer places you have in the plan set, the likelihood of conflicting information is lower. So I would always say try to put it in one location, because if something ends up changing, you don't have to change it in multiple spots and remember where it's at throughout the plan set. So I think that that's kind of a best practice. With regard to items, though, and summary approximate quantities, typically the rule of thumb is that it should show up 3 times with regard to how you calculate your items. You should have your items in your summary approximate quantities, which is kind of like a sum with regard to that pay item, and we'll get there in a few minutes. Then we'll have tabulations, which should outline how you got to that number. And then you should have plan and profile, which actually show where on the project and how you're constructing that stuff. Not every item needs to be shown 3 times, but for the most part, like drainage items typically get shown 3 times on the plan set.
Perfect. Thank you.
The only other thing I'd add to that would be, that's also a good point with the general notes. That's a great question, because what I always try to recommend is if you've got a general note that maybe relates to a specific item that has a table, it may be a good idea to go ahead and take that general note and associate it with the table as table notes. And we'll see some of that as we go through these plan sets. Again, the grouping of information, putting all the information in one place goes a long way to get a better understanding of what's intended.